So lately, I've been thinking a lot about American muscle cars and how absolutely insane they were. So while the Europeans were trying to figure out the fanciest headlight systems or the most high-tech fuel injection, the Americans went about it differently. They built the best car with freedom and American pride. And by that, I meant having the largest engines humanly possible in the largest cars humanly possible. So basically, what we're going to do today is build the best American muscle car of all time, except with a twist. Instead of using a massive gas-guzzling V8, this is going to use a massive V8, but it's going to be powered by diesel. Or at least that's what we're going to try to do. What's up, guys? My name is Rye, and welcome back to some more automation and, of course, BeamNG.Drive. We are building ourselves the greatest muscle car ever, except it's going to be a turbo diesel V8 instead of a gasoline V8. So before we continue with this build, I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Opera GX. I'm going to tell you exactly why Opera GX is the best gaming browser hands down. So imagine this. It's late at night, your room is pitch black except for the warm glow of your screen. You decide to open up a browser and BAM! You're blinded by bright white light. Come on, guys. We've all had it happen before, and it's gonna happen again. Except it doesn't have to. You see, with Opera GX's feature Force Dark Pages, you'll never have to experience the blinding flash of white light ever again. It's as easy as clicking a button, and it works for just about every page. Next up, I want to talk about their Hot Tabs Killer. So what this feature does is it allows the users to identify the most resource hogging tabs, and it closes them to make sure you have the smoothest experience wherever you're doing on your PC or laptop. It's very easy to use and it's accessed right from the GX control panel. If you guys have any interest at all in new games, the best games, free games, GX Corner is the place for you. This is a place on your browser where you can find the latest releases, breaking game news, best deals for games, and so on. It's also just super convenient and easy to use, having all this stuff in one place. I also want to mention their GX profiles. So what this is a feature that gives you the ability to change how your browser works. So for example, you're playing a game and you want to multitask and have your browser open at the same time. Well, some people don't do this because it usually hogs a lot of your computer's resources. But what if it didn't? With potato mode, you can actually save a bunch of system resources while still browsing at the same time. Another mode I like to use is called Rogue Mode, which clears your browsing history every time you close the browser. You can also make your own profiles by going to Browser Settings, Manage GX Profiles, Create Profile, and add a new one. And for every profile you make, you actually get your own icon on your taskbar. I also want to mention that Opera GX is also on mobile. It's called GX Mobile, very simple. It has all the great features you know and love from Opera GX, but in a sleek mobile device package. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Opera GX is the one to get. No, seriously, guys, download it from the link below. Opera GX, get it today. Again, huge shout out to Opera GX. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring this video. And now, back to the build. Muscle cars, especially American cars, didn't really use diesel engines, and the ones that did were absolutely terrible. And our goal today is to change Americans' minds. We're going to show you guys why diesel is the best fuel type ever. As you can tell, guys, I've got this massive sort of Ute-style body in front of us. The goal is to make an El Camino, except it's going to be a diesel Camino, and it's going to be even crazier than the El Camino was. The Chevy El Camino with the 454 made about 450 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque, which is absolutely insane, obviously. These things were crazy, even by 1970 standards, and they're even more insane by modern standards. So what we're doing is building something like that, except it's going to be a diesel with hopefully more torque than the Chevy El Camino. What we're actually going to do is make two trims. We're going to make a non-SS trim and an SS trim, both of which powered by a turbocharged V8 diesel engine. And then we're going to hop into BeamNG.Drive and see how these things drive. So first things first, we need to choose our panel material. We could go for aluminum, or as our friends across the pond would say, aluminium. I don't know what that means. We could also go for fiberglass, which is just absolutely crazy. We don't want any of that cheap plastic or whatever junk. We want good old-fashioned American steel. It's going to be a monocoque chassis. No, just kidding, guys. It's going to be a ladder frame chassis because it's American, obviously, guys. It's going to be steel chassis material. We don't want any of that communist corrosion-resistant steel or galvanized steel. That's communism probably or something. We want good old-fashioned American grade A steel. It's going to rust as soon as you drive it off the lot. Front mounted longitudinal because that's what makes sense in a muscle car. Double wishbones up front and solid axle leaves in the rear. So a little more fancy front suspension because I want this car to be drivable actually. Moving on to the engine, now we can make a new engine. This is called the Bald Eagle Supreme American V8 engine. That's a V80. Yeah. And the variant name is fine, but we don't need that. It's going to be a 90-degree V8. Cast iron, push rod, cast iron. It's going to be a diesel engine, obviously, guys. So it's going to be diesel. We'll go for around a 4-inch bore, 3.9-inch bore, and around a 3.8-inch stroke. So about a 6.2-liter turbocharged diesel engine. It's going to be like a Detroit diesel, except it's not a Detroit diesel. High compression and low cams and low lifters. We'll actually do like not crazy low, as we'll see in a bit. Turbocharged, we'll do a low turbine size, about a 2.9-inch turbo size. 5.8 psi, and it's going to be a 4-barrel single carburetor with maybe like standard mid. So since we don't have actual diesel and fuel in the game currently, what we're going to do is just use a different fuel type that's higher octane basically to sort of be similar-ish to diesel fuel, but not exactly. And I thought there was nothing better than using good old-fashioned leaded fuel and 110 octane avgas. So it's going to be pretty much the most polluting fuel on Earth, which is perfect for Americans of the time. Cast mid-headers, we'll go for no first muffler and maybe just a baffled secondary muffler. And right off the hop here, the engine, it doesn't work actually. Nothing works at all. Currently, the engine is knocking, the turbo blows up, the engine has zero reliability, the headers actually melt. So this is overall a pretty good engine actually. So far, it's not too bad. The headers are melting a fair bit there. We need to lower the red line down to about 3,500 or so RPM. That's the sort of target for our car here. All right, so I think the first engine is pretty good, okay? This is the standard tune turbo diesel V8, so the variant 1, I suppose. 430 torque and 235 horsepower, which is pretty reasonable for a 1971 or so. This is 1971. 1970 will do it. 1970 turbo diesel V8. That's actually not terrible. That's, I think, a little lower horsepower than some mid-range El Caminos, but obviously a lot more torque. And I think we'll make like a high-end turbo V8 with like a lot more horsepower probably. It's going to be a 4-speed manual with a top speed of about 100 and 180 kilometers an hour, something like that probably. We'll go for medium compound tires. This is the mid-trim, so we'll go maybe like 215s front and rear. 14-inch wheels. We'll go for steel wheels though. This is the lower end trims. Disc brakes though, and drums in the rear. No under trays needed for this thing, and it's going to be a 3-seater with basic, and it's going to have no infotainment, no entertainment at all. It's gonna be no power steering, so manual steering with standard 60 safety sounds fine for this thing, and basic suspension, which with a normal tune. So right off the bat here, it's looking pretty American. Obviously, it's a truck, which already is pretty American. And it's not tuned or anything. It's not set up too well, but it costs $13,000. It makes 240 horsepower. The weight is quite reasonable at 3,500 or so pounds, so not too bad. 0 to 60 is in 7.7 seconds or so, which is pretty reasonable, honestly. So after a bit more editing and tuning here, now it costs $16,000. It gets 19 miles per gallon, which is not terrible for 1970 for a 6.2-liter engine. I want to point out, though, we will sell 19 of these cars if it's marketed as a utility premium car. I feel like it's more of like a family car, maybe? Is this a family car? We'd sell 300, actually. That's not bad. I mean, that's actually really bad. But you know what? It is a reasonable family car from 1970. It is very reasonable, okay? It's not the best car. It's not the worst, but it's reasonable. So I think the basics are done. I'm going to make another version in a time lapse as well as design both cars. And I'll show you guys, the differences in BeamNG.Drive. Also in BeamNG.Drive, we are going to race them and see which one is the very best. Sit back, relax, guys, and enjoy. So we are starting the build for my muscle truck. Of course, the front end is what starts off first. I'm sort of framing the front with this chrome trim and a big grille and bumpers as well, having quad headlamps. It's going to be a Toro branded vehicle, which is my Australian-American kind of car company. It's going to have this sort of slotted grille with a turbo badge, with a bit of a hood bulge on the side as well. Now, this is the base trim, okay? It's going to have, windshield wipers, all the fancy stuff you'd normally have, and a long piece of chrome trim going along the side, which I tinker a lot with later on, adding some bottom trim to the vehicle. I will make a higher-end version of this car, but it will be after the time-lapse straight in BeamNG.Drive. It's going to have, of course, more power, etc. I'm adding the tail lamps now. They're quite simple, very similar to an El Camino, adding a rear area like an El Camino as well, a big old bumper, and a single outlet exhaust. I'm going to continue on with the trimming now on the back and the sides, changing the color now to yellow, and focusing again on that side trim. It gave me a lot of trouble, but I do think I ended up getting it, pretty right towards the end, so I reshape it and move it around here and there. We're just reshaping the trim and sort of making cutouts on the trim where the door jambs are, adding a fuel cap, some reverse lights in the middle, and a license plate as well. I have chosen the name now. This is the El Toro. It's like El Camino, but Toro. So it's the Toro El Toro. Adding some badging to the back. This is the mid-range bolster trim. Not the top end trim, but the mid-range trim. So basically now going ahead and adding a bit more details to the front end, reshaping the chrome trim yet again because I wasn't happy with it quite right, and I'm a lot more happy with it now. It's not perfect still, but it's a lot better. And finished in front of us is the 1970 Toro El Toro bolster. So we're here in BeamNG.Drive at, of course, the West Coast USA drag strip with the Toro El Toro Ute, I guess is what this is. I think they're also called Cube Utilities, or basically like a muscle truck. Basically anything you want to call this thing is exactly what this thing is. So what we're doing is just going to go for a bit of a drive here. This guy is having a hard time turning around there. So this is pretty much the mid-range model for the El Toro. It is the bolster trim. It's like a medium performance trim with 235 horsepower and about 430 pound-feet of torque. So it's around the same, maybe a little less horsepower, but definitely more torque than its gasoline engine counterparts. So first thing I want to point out is this thing likes just to spin its tires. Like, of course, we just dropped it in gear, but like, it is a fast vehicle for what it is. It's open diff, so it likes to spin a little bit. But it's definitely kind of a squirrel-like car. It handles pretty good. It's a little bit quiet, possibly. I tried to turn the game volume up just a bit so you guys can hear it. The brakes, you know, they're kind of there. They're kind of there. They're not really existent. I love how it just sort of glides. Look at this thing. It just sort of glides. We're going to go this way. Okay, we're going this way. Okay, we're going... This is intentional. This is it's intentional. And it's reasonably quick. We're gonna go over here. Oh, that was intentional. We're gonna cross a little traffic here. We'll do like a 0 to 60 test right here in traffic. Okay, probably just dropping it and launching it like that is probably not a good idea, but it was fine. So 6.9 seconds. That's not bad. I think we're going slightly downhill though, but that's not bad at all. It has a hard time staying stable at high speeds though. Anything over like 80 miles an hour.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Oh gosh, taking turn. And it's not stable in the slightest. It's not good, okay? They switch into the high performance SS trim, which has, I think, well here, 370 horsepower, but 515 pound-feet of torque. It does rev a bit higher, maybe a bit too high for a diesel of this time especially. But you know what? It's all make-believe, guys. This is maybe like the crazy high performance competing against the Chevy SS, whatever trim we have, maybe the El Camino SS or something like that. But this thing, it sounds a lot meaner. Doesn't really sound like a diesel, actually. This is the moment of truth. This is a real drag test now. We're going to see how the El Toro SS does. I think it's going to do a lot better than the bolster trim, okay? So we've got 370 or so horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque, which is like more power than basically all of its competitors. I think the El Camino had 450 horsepower, and I think 500 pound-feet of torque, but that horsepower figure was measured in gross. That's gross horsepower, so it's more likely in the 300s as well. So we are making about the same horsepower as an El Camino SS, but obviously we're making a bit more torque. And our torque is so low down, 4.47, 0-60, which is pretty good, or 62, which is decent. And what, 12 seconds? 12.6 in a quarter mile. Anything under 13 is fast. Anything under 13 is a fast car, especially for 1971. That is a fast car. All right, so this is the bar. So I think it's the King Snake, I think is what this is called, or Night Snake, one of the two. This one's got 500 horsepower, 620 pound-feet of torque from a supercharged V8. So this is probably the closest competitor. I don't know if it has as big of tires as we do or as good of tires as we do, but it does have more horsepower and more torque. Obviously, BeamNG cars drive a bit different than automation cars, so I can't promise it'll be the same. Oh wow, it's fast. Okay, 4.2 seconds. It's a bit faster than 62. You can definitely tell it's got 500 horsepower. And the quarter mile is going to be a little faster. It's not that far off, okay? Actually, 12.3. It's actually pretty close to a 500 horsepower Barstow Night Snake. But if we actually go back here, we'll see this car has a little bit more power, and it definitely can't cope really as well. Like, my car copes a lot better with the power, probably because it has bigger, better tires overall, higher quality tires, because I've increased the quality and automation. Alright, I actually wanted to give both cars a sound check because, you know, which car is better? Like a BeamNG V8 with a supercharger or a turbo diesel automation engine. Now, we're going to do my car first, the El Toro. We'll start it up. Yeah, actually, it doesn't sound that great. It does not sound that great. The startup is really nice, though. Like, that sounds really good. Yeah, and it just sort of falters off. Okay. If we switch now to the other car. That is a mean startup sound too. Okay, oh, all right, all right. Honestly, I'm not that impressed. Like, it sounds good, but like both aren't the best. I don't know, if we just rip off the hood here. Yeah, honestly, I'm not too impressed. Okay, we'll go back over here. Honestly, guys, let me know in the comments down below who wins the sound check, okay? We got the El Toro or the Barstow Night Snake, I think is what it's called. I don't know. I forget what it's called. All right, so for today's track test, I decided to take it to Hiroshi Short, which is a track mostly made for, like K cars and other lightweight sports cars. So yeah, I decided to bring this car to it. I don't know why, but I feel like this is meant to be, okay? This is the El Toro SS turbocharged 6.2-liter V8 diesel engine. We're gonna go and see what we can do for a track test here. It is a good handling car for a 60s or 70s muscle car. A little bit of wheel spin there, that's okay. Now, a good time on this track is like a minute 10. I think 1 minute's my actual best time, so a minute 10 would be really nice. I don't think we'll come close there today. Yeah, we are in arcade mode. I don't want that. We're gonna cut this corner a little bit. That's okay. That's okay. We're fine. My hands were off the wheel for a second. Oh, it's a little, okay. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Honestly, it's pretty buttoned down for a 1970s tire tech. Oh yeah, no, never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Alright, so far so good. I don't want to jinx it. Oh, okay, I'm actually jinxing it as we speak. Oh, no. No. Don't start it.
2 hours later.
Just gotta be a little more careful with how I use it, I feel like. We're definitely not breaking my record of 1 minute. 1 minute seems like a actually pretty good time on this track. I'm gonna cut the corner a bit here because I can. So the second it hits like dirt or anything, it just loses all function. But you know what? A 115 or so. 115, please? A 115 or so. And it's not that bad. Okay, it's not my top 10. And it's not my top 15. It's not my top 20. Not my top 30. It's actually not my top 50. Okay, you know what? Never mind. I was just squeezed out of top 50 by the Crown X9, which I tested it at in 2020. So I have improved in 2 years, which is lovely. Lastly, this is the jump arena. Obviously, we have to jump every single car. For some reason, what's this doing? What's happening? What is that? It's fine. You know what? It's fine. We're gonna go here. Go for a jump arena jump. See what this thing does. I think it'll do pretty dang good. I'll leave a download link if you guys want to download this car. But also, again, a huge shout out to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. I will leave a link if you guys want to download it in the description below. Oh, that's it. Oh, it's only a 4-speed. Oh, I totally forgot. Oh, that was a crunch. That was good. We stuck the landing. So yeah, if you guys want to download this car, I'll leave a download link down below. Make sure to join my Discord, link is in the description below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time.